Hello guys, my name is David Fields and you're watching Field Skills. Today's video is part of my Urban Survival series, and I want us to talk about food preparation, and in particular storing food for a survival situation, and more along the lines of a short-term or intermediate-term survival situation. And why would I talk about that and us getting started? Well, that's where we need to begin. We need to be able to survive for that 2, 3, 4 days a week of a survival situation. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, recommends that every household in America have a minimum of a 3-day supply of certain items in the event of a natural disaster, a hurricane, flooding, tornadoes, ice storm, where the power goes out. And they say you need these listed items on stock in store at your home anytime an event like that happens, because it's going to take them 2 to 3 days to mobilize after that type of event and to get help to your community, to your area. And if you're interested in that, you can go to www.ready.gov and download their emergency supply list. And might be, if you're getting started, a good place to start is to develop those supplies on that list to help you start preparing for a natural disaster or some type of survival event you may go through. So, let's talk about food. And that's what this video is about today. And I want to talk about how I have been preparing and putting together my food stores or my food supplies for a short to intermediate term survival situation. And my food storing is based on menus for the short to intermediate term survival situation. And what I have done is set up a menu for 10 days that will feed 4 adults. So that's 40 individual meals, if you will, over that supply or over that period of time. But to be able to build up and to store and have on hand food to feed my household for 10 days. Of course, in my house, there's just 3 of us there, 3 adults regularly. So this menu would work for probably 12 to 13 days for us. Or if we had my son and his wife down, and there were 5 of us here, it may only work 7 or 8 days of food supply. But that would get us through that short to intermediate term survival situation. And these menus are based on 3 meals a day and some snacks through that. And so let's just begin at breakfast and the menu and some of the things I have in this survival food stash and go from there. That again. Okay guys, let's talk about our 1-day menu. And I've got 10 different menus that I talked about there, but let's begin with breakfast. What do we do? What's my menu for breakfast? Well, it begins with a hot cereal. It's either oatmeal, could be grits. You can get cheese, already done cheese grits, something warm. Could be in the morning or could be eaten cold. But a hot cereal, and add some fruit. Either some sliced, diced peaches mixed in with your oatmeal there, or served separately out there. But fruit and hot cereal to go with that. Could make up a batch of muffins. Get these packages, blueberry muffins. Excuse me. Could be triple berry muffins, chocolate chip muffins, or you could save the muffins and say, that's going to be our dessert for the evening meal. But you could have that, a good hot cereal, keeping honey or a little syrup, sugar to sweeten, make that up, but the fruit will sweeten that. So that can be a hot, get started breakfast for the meal. Then we come to lunch. And lunch is based purely around one simple thing. It's taking biscuit mix and making tortillas and mixing this up, rolling it flat, frying it in a pan with a little olive oil or vegetable oil, and making tortillas, and then using peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are the basic lunchtime meal. Peanut butter is a great protein source, carbohydrates from the tortillas, and make 2 or 3 of those for each person for lunch, however they need. But this will make up a good batch of tortillas out of this very simply, and work very well for that. And of course you could add other things to it, but that's the basis of the menu for lunch, is peanut butter PB&Js there, but made with tortillas that you make yourself through that. So we've got breakfast, we've got a basic lunch in this menu, and we're going to stock these supplies for it for the lunch. We're going to then move to supper, our main meal of the day. And what's it based on? Well, supper is based on rice or noodles and beans. Can of black beans here. So we take rice, put it together, add a can of beans with that, and a can of meat. This is chicken. Now you can get canned beans in pintos, kidneys, black beans, various styles, and you'll want to store up and stock up different types of beans. But when you add a beans and rice, you can make a complete protein. And certain vitamins, it doesn't have any vitamin C, but it does give you the basis of a meal there. And when you add meat, another protein source in there, and you can buy canned meats in all different kinds. This is chicken. Of course, you can get pulled pork meat, roast beef meat, corned beef through that. Of course, things like Spam, potted meats, but you can have canned meats along with fishes. Tuna fish, of course, we're all familiar with, salmon, mackerel. There's a lot of type of meats that you can store up to mix in with your black beans and rice, and a meat source in there. And then for your vitamins and other things, some type of vegetable can go in there, whether it's a mixed vegetable here and you make a goulash type thing out of this, or very thick stew, if you will, through that. But the rice, beans, vegetables, these could be corn, tomatoes you add in there, another can of beans, it could be green beans, peas, any type of vegetable you want to add to your menu to make this meal complete. And then a key is making that taste good. Rice and beans are very plain. This will give it a little flavor, but create you some various dishes. You can add Cajun seasoning, taco seasoning to that, chili seasoning, Italian type seasonings. Adding those to make your supper time meal a good, nourishing, good, well-tasting meal. Now, it's not going to be a 5-star restaurant, and it's not going to be a buffet restaurant meal, but you can make a good, sound meal out of these. Of course, it could be macaroni, add beans to it, and a can of pasta sauce in there. Make that. You get the macaroni, the beans, some proteins, probably if you get a meat sauce with that. Add that all together and make a nourishing, good, decent tasting pasta dish, spaghetti type dish for that with there. And of course then you can come back with all of those, having plenty of biscuit mix. You could make a bread to go with that. It could be cornbread if you're doing something along that line, an easy mix to cornbread. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you've got the muffins. If you didn't use those for breakfast, you make them as your dessert at night for that evening meal. So, you've got your whole daily meal, and you stock up. So this would be 1 day's worth of food for 4 adults, basically there. And it could be 2 cans of this, 2 of that, a little more or less based on it. But when you add all of that together, you're going to get a pretty decent serving size, especially when you add the rice and beans in there for it. And of course you want to stock up and keep certain things like your coffee for breakfast. Maybe you want coffee in the evenings. These are just coffee singles that brews up, or you could keep canned coffee stored up at all times. Teas for evening meal to go with this, or make some type of teas. Of course, during your day, having drink mixes to mix in with your water to have flavored drinks, lemonades to high C type drinks through that. And of course, keeping plenty of sweeteners in line along with sugar and all to get through. But storing a menu-based supply list of food is how I have chosen to do that, and to set this up into 10-day increments. 10 days feeding 4 adults, and then adding to that and making it then a 20-day supply or a 30-day supply. But when we get over that, say 1 month, if that's stored up in your immediate needs, if we go over the 30-day limit of this, then we need to start talking about bulk survival food storage, and we'll do that in another video, talking about storing up and building your inventory of survival food out there. The simple basic point of what I want us to think about is each of you should start beginning to make sure you have survival food in your pantry, in your cabinet, stored up for those times that an event could happen that would cause you to be in a survival situation. So, as we wrap this up, I hope you will go out to the ready.gov site I mentioned, download that FEMA supply checklist, and start putting things back and having them on your shelves, stored away in the event that you need them in an urban or natural disaster type survival situation at your house. I end all my videos in this series of urban survival videos with the quote from Benjamin Franklin, where Franklin said, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail." So I hope you'll join us next time as we prepare to succeed in an urban survival situation. My name is David Fields, and you're watching Field Skills.